All right, welcome back to the One Bar and Lupagus Show. I'm One Bar, and in this episode, we're going to be talking about playoff scenarios for the Minnesota Vikings. There's a handful of them, some a little bit better than others, but going into Sunday's game, it is my duty to make sure everybody knows where we stand and how important this damn game is as far as the Vikings making the playoffs, but also scenarios if we happen to lose on Sunday, because there is still a path. It's not a very friendly path, but there is a path. Before we get into that, remember, subscribe to the channel, like the videos. We're here every damn day talking Minnesota Vikings. Also, check a comment down there, whether it's about the Vikings make the playoffs, anything and everything goes. You can rip on my flannel shirt. Let's get some chatter going down there. Before we get into that, I must say I have a weird infatuation lately where I go on eBay and I buy random baseball cards and football cards. So I'm looking to see if anybody else has that infatuation. The only reason I'm mentioning that is today, Curbsky as he came. Very excited. Very excited. All right. That's enough. I'm sure I'll be getting Jim Abbott cards and Roger Clemens cards tomorrow. Weird habit, but that's what I got. All right. Let's talk about Vikings Minnesota playoffs. How do they get there? Let's start with, unfortunately, the least likely of the scenarios, and that's the Vikings winning out. Even if the Vikings win out against a very difficult New Orleans team, a Chicago team that is definitely a game that we could lose, and Detroit, we still need some help, which would mean the Cardinals would just need to lose one game. They need to lose one game, and we need to win out. The Cardinals play Philly, San Francisco, and the Rams. So, yes, San Francisco and the Rams, I think, could give them some trouble. And who knows, Philadelphia coming off that big win last week against the Saints. So, Vikings, if they win out, win all three games, and the Cardinals lose, then we're in. We own the tiebreaker. We're in. So that is the best case scenario, but probably the least likely. Let's look at some more likely ones. Let's say the Vikings beat Chicago and Detroit, but lose to the Saints. I think Vikings fans agree that this is probably the most likely scenario. So if we beat Chicago and Detroit and lose to the Saints on Christmas, this is what needs to happen for Vikings to get into the playoffs. The Cardinals would need to lose 2 or more games. And again, they play Philly, 49ers, and Rams. We hold a tiebreaker, so we'd have the same record. And also on top of that, the 49ers would need to lose one more game, which is possible. They play Dallas, Arizona, and Seattle. So out of those 3 games, Niners would need to lose 1, and the Cardinals would need to lose 2 of the last 3. So that is the one to probably get the most familiar with. That said, if the Vikings happen to lose to Chicago on Sunday, so let's look at the Vikings lose to Chicago, beat New Orleans, and Detroit. So if we lose to Chicago, we still need to win out. The Vikings will then need the Cardinals to lose 2 games, and the 49ers and Bears to lose 1 more game. So if we lose to Chicago, but then surprisingly beat the Saints and beat Detroit, the Vikings would need the Cardinals to lose 2 more games, which isn't that crazy. I mean, Philadelphia, San Francisco, and Rams, none of those are gimmies. And 49ers and Bears to lose 1 more game. So if we lose to Chicago, don't start crying in your tears, because there's still a mild chance we could get it. All right, let's look at if the Vikings lose to Chicago and the Saints, but beat Detroit. Okay, now we're starting to get in the fantasy land here. And losing to Chicago and New Orleans is definitely a possibility, but beating Detroit, I think, I think it's kind of in the bag. So losing to Chicago and the Saints, beat Detroit. Here's how the Vikings would make the playoffs. The Bears would need to lose all the rest of their games against Jacksonville and Green Bay. Jacksonville had to be Jacksonville. The Cardinals would need to lose all 3 of their remaining games. That's it. Cardinals would need to lose all 3 of their games. 49ers would need to lose their games against Dallas and Seattle. That, like I said, is a little bit fantasy land, but there's still a chance any way you look at this, except for if the Vikings completely lose out. So Chicago, let's beat the Bears on Sunday. Let's go with the scenario where the Vikings win out and the Cardinals just need to lose 1 game, or the Vikings beat Chicago, beat the Lions, and lose to the Saints, which is still a decent chance of getting in there. So those are the scenarios. Once again, remember, subscribe to the channel, like the videos. We're here every damn day talking Vikings. I'm sure we'll be back tonight with the Lupagus with a beer in his hand.